This just in this morning, the Associated Press's uh, headline here: the Biden sanctions four Israeli settlers accused of attacking Palestinians in the West Bank. The story broke about an hour ago. This is 9:38 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It would be 12:38 Eastern Standard Time in the afternoon. And the Associated Press story reports that President Biden issued an executive order targeting four Israeli settlers in the West Bank that have been accused of violent attacks against Palestinians in the occupied territory, and they're imposing financial sanctions and visa bans on these four individuals. I didn't read the entire article, but I don't think that the article specifically states who the four individuals are. But the Associated Press goes on and writes those settlers were involved in acts of violence as well as threats and attempts to destroy or seize Palestinian property, according to the order. Let's see here. The penalties aim to block the four from using the U.S. financial system and bar American citizens from dealing with them. U.S. officials said they were evaluating whether to punish others involved in attacks that have intensified during the Israel-Hamas war. Palestinian authorities say some Palestinians have been killed, and rights groups say settlers have torched cars and attacked several small Bedouin communities, forcing evacuations. And we have a quote here from Jake Sullivan, kind of surprising. This is something the White House National Security Advisor said. This violence poses a grave threat to peace, security, and stability in the West Bank, Israel, and the Middle East region, and threatens the national security and foreign policy interests of the United States. And of course, so the article here goes on, and the next paragraph to note the domestic pressure that the White House has been receiving regarding the Israel-Hamas, so-called Israel-Hamas war. And this comes about a week after the International the International Court of Justice (ICJ) ruled that there was a plausible case that Israel may be committing genocide in Gaza. So there's that fallout happening. That's the context of when all this is going on. There was also a ruling in the court in California that basically some Palestinian people were suing the Biden administration for facilitating the genocide, and the case was thrown out. But the judge ruled that he threw it out due to the political doctrine that the judge cited. But in the ruling, the judge basically agreed that most likely there is a genocide going on in Gaza, perpetrated by the Israelis, and that the Biden administration should stop collaborating with the Israelis. So that there's that fallout happening right now, along with a lot of the protests that are following President Biden, especially recently in, I forgot what state it was, but there was a recent protest, I think it was the state of Virginia, where the president was interrupted 13 times by pro-Palestinian activists demanding a ceasefire. If you also look at the polling recently, because the fallout is also political, you look at the latest polls on the Real Clear Politics, you look at the swing states like Pennsylvania, and according to this poll, Biden has a razor thin lead against Donald Trump in a state that Biden won in the last election. So this is within the margin of error. Most of these polls are within the 3% margin of error. So if the election were held today, there's a possibility that Donald Trump might swing the election there in Pennsylvania. You look at the state there in Minnesota, that's very close. It's within the margin of error there. And there another poll where they added, actually, ironically, they added the other candidates, like independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Jill Stein. And they're actually showing that Biden is actually performing better in that poll. It's actually the same company, Franklin and Marshall. So he's actually performing better when you include the third party and the independent candidate. Uh, Ironically, he's actually doing better there. So much for the Democrats' angst about allowing third parties or independent candidates into the campaign, that it will only hurt Biden. And actually, in this case, here it's actually helping him. Um, there are other reasons why having independent and third party candidates are actually beneficial to the Democrats, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But again, this is the fallout. You look at the daily costs right there. General election poll between Trump and Biden. It's a statistical tie, 44 and 44. Um, So yeah, and your job approval rating and some of the polling is showing Biden at 38%. This one here by the Rasmussen is actually showing him doing better than 45%. Look at the If you look at the polls that came out yesterday, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina. These are all swing states. Wisconsin. We're skipping Pennsylvania because we already went over Pennsylvania. But even in this one, these are all Bloomberg polls. So they're showing that basically Biden is sweeping these swing states. And so specifically, if you look at Michigan, well, the concern in Michigan is that if the Arab and Muslim community, though it's a small community compared to the rest of the demographics, Michigan, if they don't come out to vote and support Biden like they did in the last election, Biden might lose the state of Michigan because of his support of Israel and the genocide in Gaza. So there are all these components. The ICJ again, the lawsuit, the in California, and the polls, and then the fact also that this is an election year. This might be the reason why today you have the AP reporting that Biden has sanctioned for Israeli settlers. And I think this is unprecedented too. I've never heard of a U.S. president actually sanction Israelis before, but this is definitely um, something that's going to end up in the history books for sure. Because I can't recall a single president in the United States who actually has decided that they were going to sanction um, citizens in the country of Israel. We might have to look that up or research it to see if there were any other cases. And if you look here, the top paragraph right there is like what I'm saying. His order is a rare step. So I think that the writer here, they're being careful because they're probably thinking the same thing. I can't think of a case where a U.S. president in the past has actually sanctioned people from Israel. So they're being careful because maybe they didn't have time to research and look it up. But the author here writes, his order is a rare step against America's closest ally in the Mideast, who, Biden says, has the right to defend itself. But the Democratic president has pressed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government to show greater restraint in its military operations aimed at rooting out Hamas. The order also notes that the violence by settlers undermines U.S. foreign policy objectives, quote, including the viability of a two-state solution, which, by the way, Benjamin Netanyahu recently came out and said he does not support. So Israel is actually undermining U.S. policy, and the U.S. is just going along with it. They're just allowing him to just undermine what they're trying to actually achieve. But maybe this is a step by the Biden administration to try to pressure Netanyahu. So that could be it, and it could be, the other reasons I cited before. The polling data is not really favorable to the president, and the it's an election year, and the ICJ really didn't go in Israel's favor. And by the way, the ICJ's ruling, the International Court of Justice, actually ruled 6 provisional measures. They ruled against Israel on all 6 of them, and they basically ordered Israel to provide humanitarian aid, which, by the way, they're violating because their Israeli citizens were actually blocking the roads where the humanitarian aid trucks are trying to get into Gaza. You have Israeli citizens blocking that, and Israel's just allowing them. So they're already violating that provisional measure that was ordered by the International Court of Justice. So there was that provisional measure. There was another provisional measure that ordered Israel to stop the incitement of genocide, basically meaning that Israel is ordered to reprimand, punish any Israeli citizen or any member of government that's trying to incite the population of Israel to commit a genocide against Palestinians. There were 4 other measures that were included in there, and the court basically ordered Israel to report back in 30 days to show that they're actually enforcing the ICJ's provisional measures. So I don't have the order in front of me right now. I have to download it. So that could be a reason why, again, President Biden is doing this, because even the court ordering the provisional measures, it seems that Israel's position is one of defiance, even at the international court. So it could be too that they're trying to get them to, get back and fall in line with what the U.S. wants and what the ICJ is actually ruling, because this is actually really making the U.S. look bad. It's worst of all for Biden is making Biden look bad, because it just makes him look like he can't even get his closest ally to fall in line with U.S. policy. And not only that, but of course, like I just mentioned, that they're really not respecting international humanitarian law. So it says right here, the U.S. foreign policy objectives, including the viability of a two-state solution and ensuring Israelis and Palestinians can attain full equal measures of security, prosperity, and freedom. There, I think one of the other provisional measures was about starvation, that they're not supposed to allow Palestinians to starve, even though that's happening right now. Well, so that's basically it for today. I just wanted to do a quick little live stream about this breaking news that happened about an hour ago. And again, once again, the Associated Press has reported that President Joe Biden has sanctioned 4 Israeli settlers accused of attacking Palestinians in the West Bank. The 4 individuals have not been identified at all in this article. So it would be interesting to know whether these individuals are related to any ministers of government in Israel, or whether they're just local activists or something. So let's see where this takes us here. So this is the message of February 1st, 2024. And so apparently this message was sent by the White House to the Congress. And it says here that they're sanctioning, and they're citing the federal law here, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So that's federal law right there. And wow. So let's see how I've issued in the corner. Okay. So it doesn't appear here. I can't see that if there's any names here. Yeah, so it doesn't appear that they actually named the individuals, but this is basically the order. It appears it's an executive order. No, it's just a message to Congress here. So he's just basically telling the oh no, it is an executive order right there. It's at the very. I'm closing a copy of the executive order I have issued. Right see here. Here's the executive order. Okay, so let's see if they mention any of the individuals that are being sanctioned. Let's see here. So to me, right now, at first glance, it does not appear that they named the individuals, but this is the executive order here uh, on the White House website. Yeah, and that's it. Okay, so that's it for today. If there are any updates, I'll try to come back in and do a quick live stream on this situation. Thank you so much for listening in. We'll stay in touch. And this has been a PDR live stream. Take care.